Hi, everyone. Welcome to the ADRC Data Reporting Office Hours. My name is Patricia, and I am the manager of the California Department of Aging in the Aging and Disability Resource Connection Bureau. Thank you all for taking the time to be here. Next slide. Just a few notes before we get started. Some housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded. And all the participants are muted during the presentations. If you're dialing in, please dial *9 to request to be unmuted, and then *6 to unmute yourself to speak. You would then dial *6 to mute yourself again. The chat is enabled for all of you to post your questions and comments. Closed captioning is available. It can be accessed by clicking the icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We have a recording of this presentation, so it will be available to you. Please email adrc@aging.ca.gov for a copy of the recording. If you're having any technical issues with Zoom, please email the same email, adrc@aging.ca.gov. Next slide, sorry.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sandra De Silva. I'm the data analyst in the ADRC Bureau. So here we're discussing requirements for the ADRC. We have some information to share about the updated ADRC service data report today, but first I wanted to touch upon requirements for ADRCs and also talk about the bigger picture of the ADRC Bureau data collection. So first, an overview of the requirements for designated ADRCs for fiscal year 24-25. The requirements include service data reports, designated only. Submit quarterly service data reports, for example, the online CDA 7029 report. The data enables us to identify and measure key service statistics, consumer outcomes, benchmarks, and also to demonstrate the value our ADRC network brings to Californians. Over time, the data analysis and reporting enables us to measure the progress of our ADRC program expansion. So the due dates for the CDA 7029 report are quarterly, due on October 31st, quarter 2 on January 31st, quarter 3, April 30th, and quarter 4, July 31st. And next we have the annual plan, completion of program goals and objectives to expand and enhance ADRC services. This information helps us assess our impact to our consumers and their outcomes. CDA 7039 is due on April 30th. Next, we have budgets, expenditure processing, and closeout reporting for applicable grants. For applicable grant funding sources, submit budget, expenditure processing, and closeout reporting. Enables us to report to funders how their investment into the ADRC No Wrong Go system network is changing lives. Budget reporting is also due April 30th. And finally, we have the Consumer Experience Survey. This is for designated only, emerging is optional. Submit a Consumer Experience Survey for designated ADRCs, and emerging ADRCs are optional. This survey will enable us to see trends within our California ADRCs to further develop the statewide ADRC network. Consumer Experience Survey reporting is due July 31st. Next slide, please. And here we have displayed the reporting requirements for emerging ADRCs in fiscal year 24-25. Work plan updates. This information helps us measure the progress of our ADRC development expansion. The due dates are first quarter, October 31st, second quarter, January 31st, third quarter, April 30th, and finally quarter 4, July 31st. The annual plan for emerging ADRCs. Enables us to assess ADRC program goals and objectives to expand and enhance ADRC services. The annual plan, CDA 7039, is due April 30th. Next slide, please.
So we have revised the CDA 7029 form for the fiscal year 24-25. The revised report, we removed section 4. The narrative has been moved to CDA 7039, which is reported annually. We kept, from section 4, we kept question 3 only. And it was added to the CDA 7029 online form 1. And also we have added the veteran status data collection, which is a new state requirement. So moving on, you will have only 3 links to, and it will be form 1, form 2, and form 3. So form 4 has completely been removed, and therefore you don't have any data to collect in that form. But we have spread that information into the other forms, into the annual plan and into the other form 1. We do have an exception, and the exception is, like I mentioned before, is question number 3. And question number 3 is how many unduplicated partners organizations are part of your ADRC. And we added this one to form number 1. So next slide. So this is referring to the veterans status data collection. The approved bill AB 305 requires that the California Department of Aging, the Department of Rehabilitation, and other specified state agencies to include additional questions on intake forms to determine whether a person is affiliated with the Armed Forces of the United States, and to request permission to securely share their contact information with the Department of Veteran Affairs. This is so that they may be notified of any potential veteran benefits that they may qualify. For the fiscal year 24-25, the CDA 7029 will have that collection of that data. And it is for all 4 partners, AAAs, ILCs, any other core partner, and extended partner. The veterans' personal information that was sent with consent to share should be sent in a separate Excel spreadsheet that could then be directly sent to the Department of Veterans Affairs. Further details will be in the instructions. So just to go a little bit more in depth on the data that we're collecting, it is the count of consumers who have served in the United States military, the count of consumers who are either the spouse, legal partner, parent, or child of a person who is serving in or has served in the United States military. Count of consumers who consented to the ADRC to transmit their personal information to the Department of Veterans Affairs. Also, please do not send us individual consumer data. Please aggregate it and submit the aggregate data in the CDA 70929 report. The CDA does not want the individual consumer data, just the aggregate. Also, the ADRC data instructions have been updated to reflect this information. Next slide.
So clarifying one question that we get from the ADRCs. Let's see, section 2, ADRC service function accounting for options counseling includes total consumers served with options counseling and total individuals identified as a candidate for options counseling. And we have short-term service coordination which includes total consumers served with short-term service coordination and total individuals identified as a candidate for short-term service coordination. So it is not double counting when a consumer is counted in both of these variables. Total consumers served with options counseling and total individuals identified as a candidate for options counseling. And it is not double counting when a consumer is counted in both total consumers served with short-term service coordination and total individuals identified as a candidate for short-term service coordination. So it's not considered double counting as long as the consumer is both served as a candidate and also identified as a candidate. For example, Ms. Smith calls in and can be identified as a candidate and then served with options counseling. So she can be counted in both of those data counts. Next slide, please. So report any service offered by the ADRC partners. As long as the services meet the ADRC service function standards listed in the ADRC designation criteria. It does not matter how the service is funded. Next slide, please. Okay. Example, Older Americans Act Title III-B inquiry. A person calls the information and referral line, which is funded by the Older Americans Act Title III-B. If the offered services meet the ADRC service function standards listed in the ADRC designation criteria, the consumer may be counted in both the Title III-B and the CDA 7029 service data report. A service provided to an individual may fall under multiple ADRC service function reporting categories. For example, a service provided to an individual may fall under multiple ADRC service functions reporting categories. So an individual calling into an information and referral line may receive enhanced information and referral services, then be referred to an ADRC partner for short-term service coordination to avoid institutionalization, and also receive options counseling to learn about available service options. In this case, this individual may be reported under 3 categories: enhanced information and referral, short-term service coordination, and options counseling. Next slide, please.
So this concludes the review of the enhancements. This concludes a review of the enhancements of the fiscal year 24-25 service data report. Thank you so much, and just keep in mind that your feedback and your participation by submitting your data helps us. All the data that we collect and report demonstrates how ADRCs can impact the lives of individuals. We have some time for comments and questions. Please use the raise hand up function or place your questions on the comments. And yes, we can put the link to the forms in the chat. Hi, Travis, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, just had a question. You talked about section 4 from the CDA's 7029 to the 7039. Is the section 4 still required for the 7029 that is due this July 31st? It's the fiscal year 2024? Or is that no longer required?
Thank you for bringing that up. For some odd reason, our slides somehow missed that one, but you're correct. For Q4 of fiscal year 23-24, you will only need to submit 3. So section 4, form 4 does not need to be submitted.
Okay, so the one that we're turning at the end of this month, we don't need to include section 4.
Yes, it's only form 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you.
Just want to share a little bit more on that because Patricia had mentioned, this is Amanda, that the reason we're not collecting it for fiscal year 23-24 Q4 is that we actually every ADRC that submitted it already in the April annual plan. So it's already been collected. So we didn't want to make everyone do the double work.
Sense, thank you.
Carl?
Yeah, thank you. We are collecting victory samples for a couple quarters now, but this is the first time I'm hearing that we need to be asking if we can transmit the data to the VA, and if yes, that we have to do that transmittal.
Yeah, thank you. So we are collecting veteran status for a couple of quarters now, but this is the first time I'm hearing that we need to be asking if we can transmit that data to the VA. And then if yes, that we have to do that transmittal.
Could we get a bit more guidance on that?
Could we get a bit more guidance on that?
Amanda, I'm gonna pass this one to you.
Yeah, we're updating our instructions. Carl, it's a great question. As you know, from this series of data was implemented actually last year, and this is the year that we're implementing it with ADRC is required. So we will make sure we add that into the instructions when they're updated. Because from what we know from the CDA side, we're collecting some of those questions, but then the transmittal of the data to the VA is independent of CDA, so that part is outlined in the statute, but yeah, we're not going to be doing that part of it. So,
But will you offer guidance on how?
But will you
Yes.
offer guidance on how?
Thank you. Yes, I wrote down that question. We'll make sure we address that in the instructions. Absolutely.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Carl.
you.
Any questions? Andre?
Hi, everyone. Just two quick questions. One question is around the extended partner data. So when I look on the CDA 7029 instructions, in the reporter information, it says, the name, the third bullet, it says name of each ADRC extended partner that reported data. How are we inputting extended partner data or reported data in this? Is it all cumulative? Is it something separate somewhere? Just curious about that. That's one question. And then another question is, being that we're LA County and we have a larger number of partners, we always run into an issue with forms and form entry because we always need a little bit of extra space. Will we encounter that when we get to the time when we have to input data in the form online? Just want to account for that a little bit early since we always run into that issue. Thank you.
Amanda?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, Sandra could answer better on the form. I think because it's aggregated, a lot of it, and Andre, you probably, for the multiple partners, you might be okay. But I know, I'm just thinking of though, because there's ILC and then AAA partner data. So we'll see what we can do. Sandra, maybe if you can make a note for adding more ILC pages for that. In terms of the extended partner, yes, it's aggregated and cumulative. So we definitely need to know the names of the partners that you report for extended partners, but it's all aggregated in. So cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Amanda, I found the directions. I could put it in chat if that's okay about the extended partner.
That's great. Thanks. Good questions. Helps us adapt our systems. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? We're here for you, so take advantage of us. We have our expert, Sandra. Meeting new and everything, I do have a question for you. It's like, how is your data collection going? Are you guys encountering any barriers? And Fanny, you had your hand up, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just a real quick request. Would it be possible for someone to resend out the requirement for the specific requirement for the VA data tracking and instructions? I know that was sent out a while back. We did add it to our database, but if I didn't, if we could get the instructions just so that we can be refreshed. Thank you.
We could do that. Thank you.
Chris?
Just a request as we go forward with this online submission form. A suggestion, some of us ADRCs don't have an extra core partner or something of that nature. It's kind of cumbersome for us to be doing that online form and having to go through and do zeros for all of the extra core partner piece. If there could be some way that the system could be intuitive and know when we mark on there that there's no other extra core partners, if it could skip that section, that would be wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for your suggestion. Any other ideas or thoughts on how we can make this process easier and better for you guys? Travis?
Yeah, I just want to second what was just shared about the online data entry. I think that would save a lot of time if that was an option that could be added to where you could skip that section if you like was shared, marked a box or something along those lines. It's a great suggestion. I don't want to create a whole other subject if there's others that want to comment on that, but I just had a quick question about the consumer experience survey. My question is, I know it was referenced that the consumer experience survey is due the end of this month. And I believe the information about how to report that and everything was sent out some time ago. I've got it in my archives, but I just want to make sure that I'm using the most up-to-date reporting, template and information and everything. Is that something that's going to be sent out, or will a reminder be sent out with that information about the consumer experience survey?
Yeah, another email reminder about the consumer experience survey. Okay.
Thank
I
you.
believe we have it scheduled for next week, Travis, so, yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else wants to share with us how the data collection is going with you and your agency? We're always trying to improve our processes, and so your feedback is really important.
Does Jackie see a question in the chat?
No, Patricia's actually been fielding them as they come in. I think she's been seeing them. So no questions in the chat right now.
Thank you. Yes, we're gonna share. Well, Amanda, are we sharing a copy of the PowerPoint?
You're muted.
My mouse went crazy there, sorry. Yes, of course, yeah. I think as in years past, and for those who are newer to the ADRC, Sandra will be sending out an email with the recording link, PowerPoint slides, updated information that was shared today. So yeah, watch for a big follow-up email. It usually takes a couple weeks to put it all together, but it'll go out to all of you.
So just wanted to remind you and reiterate, we're gonna be here for the next 30 minutes. If you're willing, if our presentation, we've given it to you and it's done. But if you want to stay and ask questions, we're gonna be here for the 30 minutes and be available. Thank you so much for coming by. And I know it's a really hot day for some of us. So thank you for being here with us today.